Alright everyone, welcome back to Intro to DJing. What I'm going to do in this video is show you one of, or two of my emergency exit transitions, which are Reverb Out and Echo Out. As somebody once said, when in doubt, reverb out. And this is a great strategy if you need to get out of a track quickly. I call this an emergency exit transition because it's like, let's say you're playing music in one genre and the promoter comes up and says, hey, play this song. Or we have a really big spender in here, they want to hear some hip hop and you need to transition very quickly. Now you wouldn't want to do this all the time because it very quickly interrupts the flow on the dance floor. But if you're noticing that what you're playing isn't working and you need to quickly switch genres or BPMs, this is a great way to do it. So suppose I have a track here. This is just an uplifting trance track at 138 beats per minute. And I want to go from there to a hip hop or R&B track. Beat matching this would be very difficult. It probably wouldn't work out super well, especially because this track on deck number 2 actually is in halftime. So this is actually a track at 61 beats per minute, not 131. So it'd be even harder to beat match it. So what to do in a situation like this is use one of your emergency exit transitions that allow you to quickly switch. So the way that I'm going to do this is using a reverb out first, and then you can basically use the same principle to do echo out. So to do this, I'm going to show you first in software, and then I will show you how to do it on the FLX4. So to do this, we're going to need to show the mixer section, and we're also going to need to show the effects section. And you can do this in group mode for the effects or single. I'm going to just keep it in group mode for now, but it doesn't really matter. And what does matter is that you have FX1 mapped to deck 1 and FX2 mapped to deck 2. That way you can basically use the effects unit you want for the track that you want to apply it to. You can't have it applying to both because otherwise this transition isn't going to work. So we need to apply this to the deck we want to get out of. And lastly, we need to select the correct effect that we want to apply. So first I'm going to do reverb. So FX1 applies reverb to deck 1, and we're going from deck 1 to deck number 2. So the basic steps go like this. Step number 1, make sure your reverb is all the way down. Step number 2, apply the reverb at first. And then step number 3, we're going to bring the level up. Now, if we had just turned this on with the level already up, it would be very abrupt. It would basically sound like this. It's much better to have the effect off, turn it on, and then basically bring the level all the way up like that. Then what you're going to do is step number 4, you're going to basically cut the fader of this track. And because these effects are routed post-fader, that reverb tail is going to wash over the edge of the track, and from there you can basically start the next track at any point and then it'll just drop in. So you basically just start the next track. You don't want to start it too close to the beginning. You want to start it reasonably close to where it drops so the audience isn't waiting too much, but you do have a little bit of time because you're going to be playing that overlapping with the reverb tail. So perhaps it's best if you get a chance to hear it. So suppose I'm playing this track here. So 1, make sure this is turned down. 2, turn on the reverb. 3, bring up the level. 4, bring down the fader. And 5, start the next track. From there, you want to make sure you bring your fader back up. You know, you want to, when the track is done, so often you'll move the crossfader over. Be sure you make sure you bring your fader back up, and be sure you turn the effect back off, because what can happen if you forget to do this, and I guarantee you'll forget to do this and you'll run into this issue, is you'll try mixing in a track here and the reverb will still be applied. So once again, be sure to turn it off and turn your level back down. And now you're already in a different genre if you do this the right way. So suppose you're playing this and you want to go back from here into, let's say you're playing hip hop and now you want to switch back into EDM. Well, you can basically do the same thing, except rather than a reverb, let's go ahead and try using the echo. Honestly, reverb and echo are the two best ones for this. There's even a reverb delay, which is kind of cool. It does both. But in this case, I'll show you how to do this with echo. So we'll do the same thing, except now we're applying this to deck number 2 on FX2. So this is what it sounds like. Into your life. Making sure it's down, turning echo on, now bringing the dry wet up, and then pressing play. Now, that wasn't the smoothest because one of the things we didn't do is we didn't actually fade it in, which can be very helpful. So because this track just, it has this huge intro, it's helpful to start it at a point where you can basically fade it in if you don't have an option to do that. So this is a tough one to do because this track has this really long intro. So you want to find a section where it makes sense to do this. So maybe it would be... Maybe that's a better section, so we could just start it here, and you'd basically adjust the fader to bring it in. So let's try that one more time. You can get a feel for how that would sound. Once again, we need to make sure this is off and this is turned down. So. Into your life. So that's one way you can quickly get out of playing one genre to the next. Now I'm going to show you how to do it on the DJFriendZone FLX4. Now the FLX4 is a little bit different in the sense that you have your beat effects selection here, and you need to be able to select your effects on here. So let's go through what each of these buttons do. This button chooses which deck the effect is applied to. So notice what's going on. When it's on 1, effect 1 is on. When it's on 2, effect 2 is on and effect 1 is turned off, and when it's on both, they're both triggered and both the effects are on, and this will be the same effect applied to both. So you can imagine this basically being just one effect unit with whatever the first effect is applied to either deck 1, 2, or both. You also have your FX select button, so this allows you to select what is going on, and if you hold down shift and press this button, you can go backwards. So let's go ahead and select the reverb. And you also have your depth. This controls the depth on your joint effects. And then this turns it on and off with this button. So the light will be flashing if the effect is on. This is the same as what you would see on like the DJM A1 or any of the DJM style mixers. So watch for that flashing light to know the effect is on. So suppose I wanted to do this transition, but now I'm going to do it on the DJFriendZone FLX4. My 4-step process is going to be 1, make sure my level is down and I've selected the right deck. So I'm going to select deck 1 because I'm going to be playing it on deck 1. Number 2, we're going to turn on the effect. Number 3, we're going to increase the dry wet. Number 4, we're going to cut the fader. And then lastly, we're going to press play on the track on deck 2. So let's go ahead and try that. What I'm going to do is start at this section of the track, and we'll go ahead and walk through all 5 steps. Number 1, make sure the effect is off and the level is down. 2, we're going to turn the effect on. 3, we're going to increase the level. 4, cut the fader, and lastly, pressing play. So let me do this very quickly so you get a feel for how it would sound. It would go like this. So that's what it sounds like. And once again, when you've done doing this, be sure you turn your effect off and bring the level down so you're ready to mix a track on this deck. So now what would happen if I'm playing this track and I want to go ahead from here, moving into this track. So I want to go from hip hop on deck number 2 to EDM on deck 1. So what I'm going to do is pretty much the same exact thing, except what we need to do is make sure our beat effects is selected on deck number 2, not deck 1. Otherwise, it's not going to do anything. As you can see. And for this one, I am going to use the echo. So we're going to go ahead and select the echo so we can use echo on deck 2. So let's go ahead and hear what this sounds like. We're going to do the same thing again, and I'll walk you through it. So 1, make sure level is down and the effect is off, and we've selected the right deck. Turn on the effect. So this tends to work better with pop tracks, with tracks that start immediately. I'm just trying to show you how you could do it possibly between different tracks, but hopefully you get the idea. Let me do this one more time, but this time I'm going to do it very, very quickly so you get an idea. And there you go. That is how you do a reverb or an echo out here in Rekordbox DJ. Hope you found this helpful. I'll see you in the next video.